Hello there. So today we are going to check how we can detect fake news using machine learning models. So I have these two data sets. One is fake, which contain fake news, and the other one is true, which does not contain fake news, and there is authentic news or true or a correct news. So we are going to load both of them into our Jupyter notebook. First of all, we are going to import pandas so that we could read the CSV files. Then I'm going to say fake news data frame, and then I'm going to read it using the read CSV function, and I'm going to say fake.csv, right? And for the true, I'm also going to do the same. True news data frame is equal to pd dot read CSV, and then I'm going to say true. Sorry, I think I just missed the brackets. There you go. So now if I check both of them, it says that, um, yeah, we can do this. So if we have a large amount of data, it basically gives us this error that we are not using enough memory. So if I do this, it won't give me that error because now it is using enough memory to load these data sets. So first I'm going to check the head of fake news. As you can see, we have these random columns. I don't know where they came from, so we are going to remove these. You know what? We don't need to remove them. We can only select these columns. So in front of the fake news, we can say that we can copy and paste these columns, that we only need these columns, right? We don't need the rest of the other columns because there are too many columns and we cannot delete all of them. So we are going to just select the columns that we need. Yes, okay. So let me check the true one too. So first of all, let me first check the fake news. um, what's happening? I think I have misspelled something if I'm not wrong. Let me check it. Keyword error. Okay, so I think we have to put two brackets in there, right? Not just one because they are data frames. Sorry, they are data frames. They are not series, right? So let me run them again. Okay, so now we're good to go. So we have these columns in the fake one, and then in the true we can also check the head of it and see what's there. So both of them contains the same thing, except that the true one contain the authentic news and this one contain the fake news. So now what we are going to do is we are going to add a label to both of them called class. We are going to add another column called uh, class. What is class? So basically class would be, you can say that, class for the first one, fake news, we are going to use zero, right? So it would be a label that for the fake news, zero means false. It is not true news. And for the true news, we are going to use one. So this is basically a label so that we can, so the model knows that which one is fake and which one is true. We cannot pass this string or anything else. So we are going to pass true and false. Sorry, zero and one. Zero for fake and one for the true news. So I'm going to say. Let me check it. I'm not sure this is how you fill the column. Okay, check this again. Fake news. Okay, so fake news has one. No, we are not supposed to. We are supposed to give it zero. So now if I check it, fake news has this class called zero, right? So let us do the same for the true news. For the true news, we are going to give the class as one because it is true news, right? So it's like a binary zero one. So now we are going to combine both the data frames so that we could split the data and train the data to a machine learning model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new data frame called merge.df, which will concatenate both the data frames. So the first one is the fake news. You know what? True news should come first. I'm not sure why, but I think that would be better for us. Fake news would be the second one. And let me check what's. Uh, Okay, so we have title, text, so ones and zeros. So both the columns are, so now you understand that we have combined them into one, as we had two files, fake and true. We have combined them into one single data frame, and now the true news are indicated by one, and the fake news are indicated by zeros. So that's what I wanted to do. So the next thing is that we need to process the we only need the text column, right? Because this contains the news. So we need to process the text column because it may contain links, brackets, exclamation marks, question marks, which are not necessary for fake news, which are not helpful to detect fake news. So I have a function which I'm going to copy paste here. This is a function I'm going to do uh, uh, each line of code. I'm going to explain it. So basically what it does, it takes a single text or string, it converts it into lowercase first, then it uses regular expressions. So we are going to import regular expressions as well. Import R E, where is it? Yes, so R E means regular expressions, regex. You can search for it. These are basically shorthand methods to do any functions in strings. Like for example, changing the square brackets, right? So anything in between square brackets would be removed with will be replaced with a single, with nothing. Like this is nothing. There's not a space or something. It's like just remove them. So then we are going to convert the known characters, as we can see, the known word. Replace known word characters, punctuations, symbols with simple space, right? Then we are going to remove the links, like for example, any links that start with HTTP or HTTPS with www, remove them and replace them with just empty string. And then we have the HTML tags. We also don't need it. We are going to remove the HTML tags. So if any one of you who don't know what HTML tags are, this is what HTML tag is, right? So you basically this is what HTML tag is. So we are also going to remove this too. It is basically heading tag in HTML. So it was just an example. We are going to remove it with nothing and then remove all the punctuations, all the characters, right? This is basically used to replace all the characters. So we are also going to import string. String is basically a module in the Python. So let me show you what string has. String, if I say string dot punctuation, if I run it, as you can see, it contains all these symbols. Uh, so it is also going to replace all the symbols with empty string. Then we have new line characters. We also don't need it. We are going to convert them into, replace them with nothing. And then remove words containing digits. For example, these. These are also not helpful for our machine learning model or for detection. You can skip this part if you want, but I'm using it so that it's really helpful. It's super fast for the machine to understand a simple news, right? So I'm going to run this code, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it on the merge df text column, right? This is the text column, right? So I'm going to say merge df, what is it? Text, right? Dot apply. Apply basically applies, will apply this function to each and every single row of it. So apply the process text, right? So process text. So I will give you a short example of what it does. Let me show you. Let it just run because it's a really a lengthy process. Doing all this for one single row or for multiple rows is a very difficult task and it's a very lengthy task. That's why it's taking a little bit of time, but it will be completed soon. What is it saying? Float object has no attribute lower. Why is it saying that? I think there might be some missing values that we have. Let me check it. Must df dot is na dot sum. Let me check it. So as you can see, text has this column card. So we can remove it. We don't need empty values because those are not going to be helpful for us. So we can say merged df dot drop, sorry, the text dot drop na. Come on, just yes, here it is. Okay, so it will drop the empty columns, empty rows, sorry. So now let me check it again if it's working. Hmm, let me check this one too. So it's going to take some time because it is going to run all this again on the dataset. It's again some error. Float object has no attribute lower. Why is it saying that? Merge df apply process text. Let me check the merge df. This is text, right? So let me check this one. What is it saying? So we still have it, right? Which should not happen. Where is it? Does it requires in place? Let me check. You know, I can say something like merge df text dot is na dot sum. So sum all the empty rows, just not just di text, but all of them. So we still have text, right? Which is kind of weird. Why is it not removing it? Although it should be removing it, right? A drop in a text. What we can do is we can just remove all of the empty. So wherever we have empty row or column, we are going to remove it. So let's check it again. So now it has removed it. So basically, I don't know why it was not working for a single column. So maybe it was because other columns were also empty. I'm not sure. So now if I run this again, hopefully there will be no error this time. But if there are, we are going to manage it. Don't worry. So let's hope that everything is correct and everything is on the point. Okay, so it has removed it. So basically, I'm going to assign new the this is basically the new df, right? So no, you know what? I don't need to assign it. I can just say in place. In place will basically, so in place is also not there. Oh yes, I think we have to assign a single column to it, right? So merge text is equal to this because it's a single column and you changed it. So basically that's what's happening. So now what we are going to do is I'm going to show you a simple example of what this process text basically do. So if I copy this function and if I say process text, if I say how, and then I put question marks and the exclamation marks and all these, and then I put an HTML tag here, and then if I run it, as you can see, it converted it right into just how. All these other things are not necessary for the machine learning model. All it needs is the how. So that's what the process text was doing to all the text present in the data set. So now we can separate the features features and the the target. So our feature is data frame text, right? Text is basically our feature because we are going to start my smart here. So we are going to pass this into the machine learning model. And then why, which is target. What is our target? Target is basically class, which we labeled. If you remember, we labeled it as zeros and ones. So this is our class. This will help learning model to understand which row is or which text is zero and which row is one. Zero and one basically means fake and true news. So I'm going to run this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into training and testing data sets. So I'm going to say from sklearn dot what do we have here, model selection. Let me just model selection import train test split. So train test split is a built-in function of sklearn which splits data into training and testing data sets. X train and then X test, and we have Y train, and then we have Y test, and we are going to all this function, and then we're going to pass the features and the target, and then we're going to say test size is equal to 0.3. So 30% will be used for the testing purposes and the rest will be for the training purposes. And I'm going to say the random state as 42. You can set anything. So now we can pass this into our machine learning. But you know what? Before passing it, I just realized that we cannot pass simple text to it. So if I run the xtrain, xtrain contains symbol strings, right? So machine learning cannot detect these strings. So you have to convert them into numbers. So we are going to use a vectorizer. Vectorizer is basically a function which converts strings into integers. So we are going to use TF-ID vectorizer. Let me show you TF-ID vectorizer, which is basically the scikit-learn uh, function which converts the a string into, as you can see, they must have defined it somewhere. Convert a collection of raw documents into a matrix of TF-IDF features, right? So these are basically numeric numbers. So we are going to use it. So they may have given us some example as you can see here. So we are going to copy this. It's basically a simple import statement. So I will import it and I'm going to run it, and then I'm going to say that TFI vectorizer. You know what? Just simple vectorizer is equal to TF-IDF vectorizer, right? And then I'm going to pass the X train first, right? Because we need this. We need to train this vectorizer on the X train and also transform it into integers. So I'm going to say X train vectorized vect. So you know what? We are just going to use VEC, which basically means vectorize. I don't want to, make variables too large. So then I'm going to say the vectorizer. Vectorizer has this function called fit transform, which basically train the TF-ID vectorizer and transform the data into integer as well. So I'm going to say xtrain. So let me show you what xtrain will have, right? So basically, first xtrain has these things, right? As you can see, these are all strings. So now if I check the xtrain vectorized, see these are just variables. I don't know how you can get the values of it. If I check the let me show you, they may have something here. Get features name out. So let me check this function, what it does. So now this cannot be it. They may have some other functions which I don't know how to get the values out of it. But basically they converted it into a document of integers instead of strings. So we are going to do the same for the x test. I think x test or y. Yes, X test. So we are going to do the same for the because Y contains integers, so we don't need to do for it, right? So X test, and then we are going to say vectorizer. And for this, we are only going to transform it because we don't need to pass it into the model and train model on it. So we are just going to say, you know what, x test will only be transformed into integers, right? And then I'm going to call a model from the sklearn library called uh, wait, let me show you decision tree classifier. You can use any model, any logistic regression model, like for example, a logistic regression, random forest. You can even use linear regression because all these are all the integers, so you can use it. And there may be some other logistic regression models you can use them too. But make sure that they are classification models because we are classifying something into zeros and ones, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say model is equal to decision tree classifier, and then I'm going to say model dot fit, right? So I'm going to pass, as you can see that it takes two values, x and y. What is our x? X is or this x, right? Because we cannot pass the, as I said before, we cannot pass these simple strings. We have to pass the vectorized form of the x. So we converted the training data set into x train vectorized, and the y can be simply the train because y only if I show you the y train is already integers, zeros and ones, right? So we don't need to transform that to vectorized form. So now if I run it, let this model be trained. It maybe take some time because it's a heavy process and there are a lot of data sets. So now it's done. What I can do is I can say predictions. Did I spell it wrong? Yes, predictions. And then I can say model dot predict. So I'm going to predict the, if we check this, it takes the X test, right? So I'm going to predict the testing data set. Which data set? This one. Because as I said before, we cannot use the strings. So I'm going to say X test, and if I check predictions, it will contain zeros and ones. So it basically detected the X training data set into zeros and ones. Like it said, the first one was fake news, the second one was true news, and so on. So now we can check the accuracy of the model using the sklearn metrics like the confusion matrix, classification report, and the confusion matrix. If you don't know about confusion matrix, I have a video on it and you can watch it. But it is used to determine the accuracy of a model. So I'm going to say it basically takes two values: the y true, which are the y test, right? These are the true values for the which we separated for the testing, as you can see here. So we are going to use this one, and the second one is the predictions. What are the predictions? We already predicted it here, as you can see. So predictions. If I run it, it has an accuracy of 100%, which is very good. 100% is always a good accuracy. So there are some values like 99, 99, but it's 100. And the reason for 100 can be because of the data size. Let me check the size of the data, right? So how much is the data set? So as you can see, it's total of 20,000, right? So is it 20,000? Yes, I think it's 20. So no, it's not 20. Maybe it's 20. Because here it says that 9,998. And here it says 19,000. So maybe 10,000, 20,000 doesn't matter. So 20,000, 10,000 is not a lot of data. So, and then we are going to predict the second one, which is confusion matrix, right? We are going to calculate the confusion matrix uh, for the model. So I'm going to say y test and then the predictions. So it predicted 200, 2,962 true positive. Then these are the false true positives, true negatives. These are the false positives, and these are the false negatives. So the sum of these two, this one and this one, should be greater than these two, right? So the first diagonal sum should be greater than the second diagonal sum. If that's not the case, your model is not valid and it cannot be applied to real world cases. So now we can test it on some sample data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say news test news, right? Test news, and I'm going to how we are going to do it. Should it take an array or just a, it's going to take an text because this is the feature, and I'm going to say uh, how are the world economics, which is just a silly thing, economics, right? So I'm just going to say this is the news, and then I'm going to convert it into a data frame, and then we have to vectorize it. If you remember, no, we don't need to convert it into data frame. I think you know what we did. We first extracted the, where is it? Here it is. So first we extracted the x, which is the feature. Then we vectorized it. So we are going to use the vectorizer directly. We don't need to convert it or something like that. And as a matter of fact, I think I can just you know, oh, let's just test. Okay, so what I'm going to do is vectorized news is equal to vectorizer, which we imported earlier, dot transform. So we're not going to use the fit transform because we're not training it. We're just converting it into a integer form. So I'm going to say test news dot text. I think that's how it is going to work. So we don't have this kind of thing. Text, right? So let me check it model. No, just no. Why is it not? How do you access dictionaries? I don't even remember it. Test news and then let's just do the dot method. That's how I used it in other libraries, in other languages, but I don't know why it's not working right now. Uh, is it maybe because, how did we use it here? We just passed the function, sorry, the textual data. But here, how are we? I think there, I'm just making some mistake, but I don't remember it. So you know what? Just copy this thing as it is, and let's test what's happened. No, it's not going to convert. String object. Okay, so I think uh, it's saying that I need to pass an array if I'm not wrong, right? So I have to pass an array. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so I needed to pass an array. Let's hope that the model can predict it. Predict, and then I'm going to pass the vectorized news. Oh, there you go. So it says, you know what? It's a fake news. So you know what? Let me check the fake news data set and take some of the column from it. Like yes, I can say dot ILOC, I can say 0, and then I can say the text only. So this is the text which is a really lengthy. So I'm going to pass this whole text into this array. And then I'm going to check what is the result of it. So I have two news. The first is the how are the world economics, and the second one is the Donald Trump news. So let's check it. So the both of them are false, as we predicted they are false. So let's try with the new one, which is the true news. True news DF. I'm going to say the zero one, and then I'm going to select only the text part of it, right? No, I think that's not how it's. Oh, so you have to use the dot ILOC. So it's um, index-based retrieval of the data. You know what? Let me check it. What's there? There is nothing. So let's say one. Okay, so one has it. So then I can say text. Uh, how did we do it before? Before we were accessing it like the same way, and now it's not giving us any one dot. No. You know what? Let me just use this thing. No, it's really weird. I access this uh, fake news in the same way, but I don't know why it's not giving me the result. You know what? Just I cannot copy this. I'm not sure why I cannot copy it. No text. It's just giving me this. Oh, you know what? I need to call the zero. Yeah, so now it's working. Okay, so we have the Donald Trump one, then we have the first one, and then let's add another one, which is the new that we know that it is true. The third one is true. So let's check if it's detecting correct. So as you can see that it says, you know what? It's a true news. So you can add your own news. So let's check the world news, right? So let's check what's happening in the world. Uh, I'm going to go to BBC. I'm going to copy any of the Edison and H2. You know what? It is an older data set. We have trained the model on an older data set, and I don't think so it is going to predict any of this because, we have uh, trained our model on old data set, and it cannot predict the new things that are happening. So, but we still are going to check it. You know what? I think it has. We have to put three, one, two, three, because we have multiple line news because we copied it from a website and it was in the multiple line. Let's check it. So it has been vectorized. It predicted as false, and the only reason why it predicted as false was because this model is not trained on it. You know, this news is from 2023. If we look at the published date, 1 hour ago. See, and it's 2023, so it cannot predict on the new news, on the latest news. So you have to pass news that of its time, like the data set was from maybe from the 2013, 2015. So you have to pass news of that year, then it will predict it correctly. Otherwise, it will just randomly select any of thing. So that's basically it, how we can predict fake news. You can use any model. I use decision tree. You can use random forest. You can use logistic regression. You can use what is another one? Linear regression. You can also use it. So there's no limitation. You can use any other if you have in your mind. So if I go classification models, right? So if I search for it, you can find a number of classification models. As you can see, you can use any of them on this data sets and the fake news detection system. So this is basically it's just one simple file of code which contains the fake news detection code, and it is detecting code. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will provide the code in the description. Um, so yeah, basically that's it. That's how you can detect fake news. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, thanks.